question number 13 is the perfect example of why it's important to understand the passage as a whole and the key points of the passage. If you don't, you will very likely get this question wrong. The passage says that the most telling indication of Alzheimer's disease is C, degeneration of nerve cells. Students may be confused with this question because choices like A and B, A, a shrunken brain, and B, fluid in the brain or cerebral spinal fluid. These two are both mentioned in the passage, but why are they not correct? Well, I'll get to that in a minute, but let me first show you why degeneration of nerve cells is the correct answer. So one of the key points of this passage is that the diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease could only be certain in autopsies, or on dead patients. And this has been mentioned in several places within this article. And the article mentioned that the difficult part is diagnosing Alzheimer's in living patients, and imperfect tools like CAT scans cannot do it. So that's a key point, and that's the key point. If you miss it, you'll most likely get question 13 wrong. The only certain diagnosis is diagnosis in dead patients. So paragraph 1, it tells us that the only sure sign of someone with Alzheimer's disease is seen only in autopsies in dead patients, and the signs would be degenerating nerve cells, also known as plaques, and or nerve cell malformation, also known as tangles, and these can be seen in autopsies in dead patients. So these two are the sure signs of Alzheimer's disease seen in dead patients. Degenerating nerve cells is one of the choices, and that's choice C. If you're not sure still, but you should be sure by then. But you should also go through the whole article. Another place where that's seen is in paragraph 3, where and it's easier if you annotate. Like I have my notes here, so it was so much easier for me to find. In paragraph 3, it shows us again that the key indicators when the scientists look at dead patients in autopsies, the 3 signs are, again, nerve cell degeneration, which is actually found here, but I also noted it on the side. That's why it's so much easier to annotate. And decreased level of the neurotransmitter acetylcholine. That's not one of the choices, but but that is one of the signs, one of the key signs. And tangles, as we know from paragraph 1, that's nerve cell malformation. But in the choices for paragraph 13, the only one that matched one of those 3 definitive choices is C, degeneration of nerve cells. So they're the most. So out of all 4, C, degeneration of nerve cells, is the most telling indication in the patients. So the answer is C. So although we're sure that C is the answer, but you should always go through the other 3 choices to eliminate them, to make sure that they are not the answer, or that they're not a better answer than the one you're sure about. So let me first eliminate D. D is the most obvious one to eliminate. Nowhere in the article does it say discoloration of brain tissue is the most telling indication of the Alzheimer's, or any. It's not even a indication. It's not even one of the imperfect indication or bad indication. There's just nowhere in the article does it say discoloration of brain tissue. So we could eliminate D easily. Regarding choice A, a shrunken brain, some students may mistakenly choose this as the answer, but it's wrong. And this is a perfect example of why it's important to understand the article as a whole and the paragraph where it's found as a whole. So shrunken brain is found in paragraph 2, shrunken brain or atrophied brain. And some students may find it in this paragraph and say, okay, it's in the paragraph, that's the answer. That's wrong, and you should not do that. You should read this is exactly why you need to read the question very carefully and read the paragraph very carefully and read the whole article very carefully. The question asks for the most telling indication, or the best indication, and the article as a whole, as I mentioned, one of the key points is Alzheimer's could only be surely diagnosed, definitively diagnosed, or surely diagnosed on a dead person in autopsies. And this paragraph, the key point of this paragraph, as I noted here, is that CAT scans cannot definitively or surely detect Alzheimer's disease. CAT scans, however, could detect these symptoms like the atrophied brain or the shrunken brain, the widened sulci or the widened tissue indentations, and the enlarged fluid chambers or enlarged ventricles, right? So CAT scans could detect these three indications, but they're not good indications. As this paragraph is, the key point of this paragraph is that CAT scan is not a good diagnosing tool for Alzheimer's disease in living patients. So any of these signs here, any of these three signs are not good signs, and therefore, which one of them is shrunken brain or atrophied brain. So therefore, a shrunken brain is not a good sign of Alzheimer's disease. It's not a good indication of Alzheimer's disease. So we can eliminate A. Okay, and so the last choice we need to eliminate is choice B, fluid in the brain. For most students and most English professors, this one can be quickly eliminated because most students and most professors, English professors, will probably not know that fluid in the brain is the same as cerebrospinal fluid as mentioned in paragraph 6. The reason why I know this is because I have a science background, a bit of a background in health and science, so that's why I know this. The author did not tell us in this article that cerebrospinal fluid is the same as brain fluid, and so most students and most English professors, because English professors do not have specialty in health science or medicine, will not be able to find brain fluid in the article, so they can easily eliminate that choice. However, okay, even if, let's say, you're a student with a strong health and medicine background, so if you do, then you will say, okay, cerebrospinal fluid or brain fluid is mentioned in paragraph 6. But if you're not careful, you may choose this as the answer, but it's the wrong answer, because again, the same principle holds. The principle of it's not just finding it in the reading. You have to understand the paragraph as a whole and the reading as a whole. And so this paragraph is pretty much telling us that Alzheimer's disease, well, first of all, the whole article, again, one of the key points is that it's hard to diagnose the Alzheimer's disease. in a living patient. So this paragraph is telling us that scientists are hoping to find a genetic marker, and a genetic marker is the most promising way of creating a test that could certainly diagnose Alzheimer's disease in a living patient. And so that's what this paragraph is about. You know, the promise of a test that could definitely diagnose Alzheimer's disease in a living patient. And one of those genetic markers that's very promising is the Alzheimer's disease associated protein. And that protein, this genetic marker, is found in what? In the cerebrospinal fluid, or in the brain fluid. So the cerebrospinal fluid or the brain fluid is actually a side detail. It's not an important. Well, I would say it's not important, but it's not the key detail. It's not the key point of this paragraph. So it's the location where a genetic marker is most likely found, and so therefore it's not just, if it's just a side detail, the location where a genetic marker may be found is not the most telling indication of the disease, and therefore we can easily eliminate choice B. And now we're 100% sure C, degeneration of nerve cells, is the answer.